critical appreciation, modern as a modern poem, both from this be the verse, but it is curious that
স্যার
huh,
একটাই তো
huh?
অ্যান্সার প্রিপেয়ার করতে হবে দুটোকে একসাথে করে, তাই তো? একটাই তো অ্যান্সার প্রিপেয়ার করতে হবে, যেরকম শাসনের করেছি আমরা।
হ্যাঁ, মানে এবার দুটো যেহেতু আলাদা পোয়েম, কিছু জিনিস আলাদা হয়ে যাবে।
ক্রিটিক্যাল অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েশন দুটো আলাদা, শুধু
হুম
মডার্ন পোয়েমটা।
হুম হ্যাঁ, অ্যাজ আ মডার্ন পোয়েমের ক্ষেত্রে 90% একই
ওকে।
থাকবে আর কি। But it is curious, I skipped
হুম
it, that
হুম।
why is this called This Be the Verse? I mean, of course, there is no question on title, but this is curious that হঠাৎ করে এই নামটা কেন? Why is this be the verse? Yes, Shraman.
Maybe somewhere Larkin is putting himself on top of basic human mentality. ও হয়তো একটা অন্য পার্সপেক্টিভ থেকে দেখছে আর নিজেকে একটা এলিভেটেড হিউম্যান বিং হিসেবে কনসিডার করছে। দ্যাটস ওয়াই ও চাচ্ছে যে দিস শুড বি দ্য ভার্স অ্যান্ড নট জাস্ট আ মিয়ার পোয়েম। ও হয়তো নিজেকে গড কমপ্লেক্সে ভুগছে নিজে।
Mm, yeah, I mean there is one. Yeah, I mean there could be one explanation as to why perhaps Larkin has chosen the word verse here, is that I brought in a biblical analogy. I brought in a biblical allusion, and Bible was written in verse. So maybe, yeah, what Raman is trying to say is that he wants to consider himself to be a prophet of anti childrenhood, and he wants to start his own cult, start his own religion where children are not glorified, neither are parents glorified, and in the analogy, the god is also de-glorified. Or maybe he is trying to point to the fact that, you know, this world should have had ended, and we, the children of God, should never have had born. We have brought a lot of problems to this world because, by our very nature, we human beings are very toxic, and that is the verse. That might be the first verse in the in the Bible of rebellion, or in the Bible of pessimism, whatever you might call it. Okay, let's go into deceptions now. Deceptions, the title suggests some kind of falsehood, some kind of falsehood being practiced by people in general, or there might be some particular aspects of some deceptions which are very common, which are very uh, pronounced, and they have been registered here as instances of deceptions. Of course, I was drugged, and so heavily I did not regain consciousness until the next morning. He's talking about an episode of drug overdose, so much so that he did not regain consciousness until the next morning. Somebody drugged him, somebody mixed some substance in his food or drink, as usually happens. I mean, it doesn't usually happen, as it happens sometimes in bars or pubs. Usually people complain that they have their drinks were spiked, and he did not regain consciousness for a very long time. I was horrified to discover that I had been ruined, and for some days I was inconsolable. Ruined is, if Larkin is the speaker, if we assume that Larkin is the speaker, then he is a person, he's a man, he's a male person. How can a male person be ruined? Again, another stereotypical idea about our sexualities. But Larkin laments that he had been ruined, he had been sexually assaulted. And this is a poem where he confesses about his maybe sexuality, where he confesses about the trauma that he faced, or it could be something else as well. I mean, I don't want to indulge in intentional fallacy and try to imagine Larkin's life through just a poem, just one poem. There could be several other interpretations of these lines as well, but it's usually thought, it's usually considered that that this could happen, and that is what is registered in the um, this allpoetry.com thing, that it says that and this is, I guess, generated by AI. I don't know if this is true or not. The speaker in the poem recalls a traumatic experience of sexual assault described as drugged and ravished, etc. But the speaker of the poem could also be a woman. This could be a persona created by Larkin. But the word I, uh, might give us another way to look at it. So it says that I was horrified to discover that I had been ruined. See how much importance we place if this is a sexual assault. Then just look at the kind of importance we give to our virginity, or we give to our body, that it could be ruined. The body could be ruined by being touched by some person without consent. It shows the way in which we are looked at by the society. In our society, in our patriarchal society, the society thinks that our honor lies either in our vaginas or in our rectums or anuses. But that is what we have been handed down. That is what we have come to believe, that anybody touches our private parts and we are ruined. Whether it's a man or a woman, that doesn't make any difference. And sometimes some men feel more ashamed to talk about any sexual assault on them, because a man is supposed to rape and not get raped instead. This will be a double humiliation. পুরুষ হয়ে কি করে তার সাথে শারীরিক অত্যাচার হতে পারে? It's not possible. Or is it? And for some days I was inconsolable. What was he or she inconsolable about? That they were ruined? How can we be ruined? Even if we are touched inappropriately, even if we are raped, even if we are penetrated without our consent or with our consent. Because again, the society believes so. We don't see ourselves from our own eyes, we do not see ourselves from our own perspectives or our understanding, but whatever understanding has been fed into us. Interestingly, we don't get ruined if our soul is lost. We don't get ruined if we lie and cheat and deceive people. Or maybe that is what the uh, poem is hinting at: deceptions. We deceive ourselves thinking that our bodies are the strongholds, are the sanctum sanctorum of our soul. It should be the opposite of it. So he was unconsolable, he or she was unconsolable for a few days, and then things started to settle down. Yes, Prishita?
জল পড়ে গেছে ফোনের মধ্যে, শাওয়ার খুলে দিয়েছি।
Prishita, you're
না না,
okay. So that was some comic relief. Thanks to Prishita. Anyway, so
I'm so sorry sir, I'm so sorry, like I
it's
went to
okay. It's
another
okay.
room and it happened like that. I'm so sorry sir.
It's okay. I mean, in our class, it's okay. It's fine. Like, we heard some colorful words and something about
I'm
shower or
sorry sir.
something. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, yeah, I like it. Anyway, so
আইআইটি খড়গপুরের ডিরেক্টর হলে এখনই কল ছেড়ে বেরিয়ে যেত।
IIT খড়গপুরের ডিরেক্টর.
হ্যাঁ,
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, according to that controversy, yeah. I mean, of course, that's why I'm not the IIT director of IIT. You know, I am more. I stand on a higher pedestal than he does. So, anyway, so
এটা ট্রু, এটা ট্রু, এটা ট্রু,
হ্যাঁ, এটা
অ্যাকচুয়ালি ট্রু।
I wish nobody hears this anyway. So, যাই হোক, inconsolable ছিল, and I cried like a child to be killed or sent back to my aunt. I cried like a child. Now this gets difficult. Now this gets dark. Why it gets dark? Because we might be looking at child abuse, but it says that he cried like a child, and it doesn't say that he was a child. Or maybe the experience that he is sharing with us is a trauma from the childhood. Girls, ladies mostly, boys also, we all have an experience with some bastard uncle or some asshole of a friend of our parents who would touch us inappropriately. We were young to not to understand why is this happening, why are they touching us in this way. And later, when we grow up, we realize, oh, so that's what it is all about. And now that uncle has grown old, and you want to slap that uncle, take him by his hair and scratch his face, but the uncle perhaps doesn't remember, and he expects that you don't remember it either. And your parents are not going to listen to this because they thought, but not anymore, things have changed, that you're just making it up to get attention. And that is what happens to a man when he cries like a child, especially a man. পুরুষ মানুষ কাঁদলে অনেকে বলে সে অ্যাটেনশন পাওয়ার জন্য নিজেকে বেচারা বলে শো করছে, but he cried like a child to be killed, as if he cried as if he was going to be shot. And the child who knows that he is going to be shot will cry itself to death. because the the child will be so scared, like any grown up, of dying. We all are. Or maybe he wanted to die. Instead of fighting the person who had done something wrong to us, it is we who think about suicide, because our society have made us feel that it is our fault if we get raped or touched inappropriately. অত ভিড় বাসে চড়তে কে বলেছিল? তো অফিসে বা কলেজে কিভাবে যাব? বাবার গাড়ি নেই, সবার বাবার গাড়ি থাকে না, গাড়ি থাকলেও বাবা অনেক সময় গাড়ি দেয় না। And we need to use the public transport, or we need to go to the Durga Puja celebrations, or we need to be looked after by that creep of an uncle. Our society makes us feel that it is our fault. Too short a skirt, too revealing a top. Then what happens when a person clad in sari or burqa is raped? Or what happens when a child of 9 months is raped? Again, their fault. বাচ্চাটাকে ওখানে একা রাখা হয়েছিল কেন? So what will the mother who works at a construction site do? Carry the child all the way till the 40th floor so that the child feels dizzy and dies over there? But all of these things should make us think. That is what movement poetry is all about. Feel. If it fails to make you feel angry, if it fails to make you feel sad, if it fails to extricate pity from you or a tear from your eyes, then the poetry fails. But if it doesn't, well, the poetry is successful. Or either he wants to get killed, either he wants to die by suicide, or he wants to be sent back to the aunt, like any child does. Like the child wants to go back to a secure location. Usually after mothers, it's the aunts who take care of the children. I'm not sure what this is. Mayhew, London Labour and the London Poor. Is this the part of a poem? Do you, in your texts, do you have something like Mayhew, London Labour and the London Poor, a line that starts with a dash in between the poem? Tista?
হ্যাঁ স্যার আছে তো,
Okay, so I thought it was a
এটা দিয়ে
mistake.
স্টার্ট হচ্ছে।
Okay, so the next section starts with this. Mayhew, I think this is the name of a place in London. London Labour and the London Poor. So perhaps Mayhew is a place like Dharavi in Mumbai, or some slum locality in Kolkata, where the labourers and the poor people live. Perhaps it was there that this heinous act was committed, because it was always the poor who are at the receiving end of all these exploitations. Even so distant, I can taste the grief, bitter and sharp, with stalks you made me gulp. So even after so many years, so now we realize that this could be Larkin, and this could be an episode of child abuse that Larkin as a child had faced. And the distance is the distance of time. But we don't forget our trauma. We don't forget a trauma like this. So even so distant, এতদিন হয়ে যাওয়ার পরেও he can still taste the grief. Bitter and sharp with stalks. Stalks could mean the stem of a plant, but the stalk could be the penis also. And the sexual assault could include, usually does, especially with children, includes oral sex, oral exploitation. There are many episodes, there are many reports, registered complaints where this thing has been reported. It makes the child feel traumatic. It makes them it makes them it breaks them completely, as it would break any human being, grown up or child. The sun's occasional print, the brisk brief worry of wheels along the street outside. The sun's occasional print, maybe this is all the images that Larkin or the child persona was experiencing or seeing from the bed or from the floor where he had been lying drugged. And the sun was like coming and going occasionally, like somebody would remove the curtains and the sunlight would come in, and that's something that would be registered in the half conscious brain of the child, the drugged brain of the child. And drugging of a child could be easily done by somebody the child trusts. And in 60 to 70% or even more of the cases reported of rape or child abuse, it is usually found that it was someone inside, someone from the family whom the child used to trust. Anyway, so sometimes he could hear the brisk brief worry of wheels, some kind of vehicles, bicycles, cars would pass from the place where he is lying, from the street outside, where bridal London bows the other way, and light, unanswerable and tall and wide, forbids the scar to heal. Bridal London, the city often gets decked up, decorated as a bride, especially during the Christmas. And it is during these religious festivals, it is during these get-togethers that those creepy uncles come to the house. Creepy uncles and creepy cousins and creepy friends of parents come to the house. So instead of a time of cheerful joy, the weddings and the family get-togethers turn into some kind of traumatic reliving of the same experiences, seeing the perpetrator right in front of your eyes, smiling at you. Anyway, so the bridal London, perhaps this is a reference to the way in which London as a city has been decorated during the religious festivals. But it bows the other way. It looks at something else. It doesn't look at the Mayhew people lying in the dirt. It doesn't look at drugged children being raped by perverts. It looks at something else. Just like a denying parent would never accept or agree that it is their family members who have raped the child. They will fear backlash, they will fear loss of face, they will fear that their reputation will be ruined if they report the perpetrator to the police. Anyway, light, unanswerable, tall and wide, London. The lights in London, they are unanswerable. They don't answer. It's a harsh city. They have tall buildings, they have wide roads, but all of these actually forbid the scar to heal. Scars never heal. I mean, once a scar is there on your body, it will stay for the forever. It's the wounds that heal. But we are more scared about the scars. We want to hide the scars rather than to hide to heal the wounds. We pay more attention, we give a lot of effort in hiding our scars. Because the scars are visible under the on the skin, the wounds are not, and drives shame out of hiding. But when you live with the shame for a very long time, when you agree to live with the shame for a very long time, then you become used to it. You have to become shameless, and you have to come out of this societal repression, and you need to say what has been done with you. And this poem is a testament of that. This poem is a coming out. This poem is a coming out of that hiding. This poem is a laying bare of the shame. All the unhurried day, your mind lay open like a drawer of knives. There are days when we do not have much to do. We think about our past and all the betrayals, all the losses, all the problems that we had in our life, and each represents a knife that was used to cut us, that was used to stab us. And they lay open, they come back. And অনেক সময় এরকমও হয় যে ঘুম আসছে না, তখন কতকাল আগে কে কি করেছিল আমাদের সাথে সেই সবগুলো আমাদের মনে পড়তে থাকে, and we lose our sleep over all these things. We do not sleep, and we think, we obsess over these things, especially about those things where we had lost and where we could not do anything, and we run a simulation to see what could we have had done that day in order to avoid whatever has happened. Slums, years have buried you. I would not dare console you if I could. So in the slums and over years, he has buried his own pain, he has buried his own trauma, he has buried the child. In the earlier paragraph he wanted to die, and in this paragraph, in the final stanza, the child is buried, the memories are buried, the trauma is buried, so are the days in the slum. And as a grown up, he will not dare to console, he will not dare to say some good words, he will not say some uh, what's that called, pe- yeah, pep talk. He will not give a pep talk, he will not act like as if, you know, this is something that a grown up could comprehend, what happens when a child undergoes a sexual assault. What can be said except that suffering is exact, but where desire takes charge, readings will grow erratic. যেটা বলা যেতে পারে, what can be said is that suffering is exact. What you suffer, I will not know, I cannot comprehend, I cannot fathom. What I suffer from, you cannot understand. Even if we might share similar experiences, but all experiences of trauma are very personal. They share boundaries, they share some aspects of each other, but not all. But desire takes charge sometimes. Desire to either fight back, desire to erase what has happened, desire to take revenge, desire to forget. All these desires, as you read in Wasteland, memory and desire mixes. Readings will grow erratic. There will be no uh, pattern of the reading anymore. Reading of what? Reading of the problems that people face, the problems that um, the pulse, the reading of the pulse will go erratic. You will not have any kind of balance. There will be no contiguity in your responses. These are very common effects of post-traumatic stress disorders. You'll be lost in your own thoughts, you will not respond, you will not act as a common person, or a person who in his or her right minds might react. There will be so many issues with this. For you would hardly care that you were less deceived out on that bed than he was, stumbling up the breathless stair to burst into fulfillment's desolate attic. You would hardly care that you were less deceived out on that bed. Now comes the crux of the poem. Perhaps Larkin is trying to say that even in the bed, a similar exploitation happens. This time with consent, but earlier it was without consent, but there is still a sense of deception every time. According to Larkin, there is a sexual union. Perhaps Larkin is talking from his traumatic experience, and he cannot get over that experience, and to him all sexual encounters appear to be traumatic. This can happen with a number of people, especially who have a history, who have been exploited, who have been targeted by perverts. They find any kind of sexual activity to be traumatic. Any touch, any intimacy will appear to be a rerun of the same deception that happened years ago. That remains a kind of a problem with the person. Either you were there on the bed, or he was the child who was abused, stumbling upon the breathless stare. The stare, of course, is not breathless. The child is, because the child is running from the molester. Running breathless and bursting into fulfillment's desolate attic. Attic is usually a place where these kinds of mischiefs occur. Either it's the basement or it's the attic. Or the child is tumbling up the attic where he can cry on his own, because his cry will attract more censure. আমাদের সঙ্গে অনেক সময় এরকম ঘটনা ঘটে যেখানে আমরা কাউকে কিছু বলতেও পারি না, কারণ বললেই আমাদেরকে জাজ করতে শুরু করা হয়. So he bursts into fulfillment's desolate attic. The attic is desolate, but there is some kind of a fulfillment, the kind of fulfillment that occurs when at least you cry alone, you cry your heart out. That's the only fulfillment that you can get out of this situation. Some people cannot open up to any kind of consolation, and they only can cry in peace only when they are alone. So that is the fulfillment, and that is the morbid fulfillment that we can find here. Anyway, that's all I had to say about this poem. And as a modern poem, you can of course bring in the psychoanalysis and the PTSD and the the modern topics that includes the child abuse and rape and all these things. Okay, so do you have any questions?
না স্যার বুঝেছি.
Okay, anyone else, any other questions? In fact, if you want to, I mean, this is, as I said, a kind of poetry leads to therapy. So does talking about your pain, about your traumatic experiences to people, usually who are strangers, because that way they will not judge you. So I think by writing this poem, Philip Larkin was communicating to strangers. We are strangers to Larkin, but maybe that was his fulfillment. Okay, so let us stop here today, and if you do not have any questions, you may leave the meeting. And for the